Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy live. I apologize I'm late as per sometimes usual. Hope you guys are excited. We are almost 1 week into the first phase of reopening. Patios are open. Yay. Also drive-ins and, some stores, not all stores. Hope you guys have been enjoying it. Hi, Scotty. How are you? I have enjoyed 3 patios so far. Hooligans and Donnelly's and Milestones, and have definitely gone in some shops and Home Sense and Lowe's and Home Depot and Bradford Greenhouse, etc. So hope you guys are all enjoying. I will do the normal today. Happy Wednesday, happy live, which is go over real estate, answer your guys' questions, and go over some happy news. You are always welcome to ask questions in here if you like, or I can just go through the people that have asked throughout the week if you are more shy. So thank you for popping in. And we're also just about 2 weeks away from the next giveaway. So on the first of every month, we give $2,500 to pay towards somebody's mortgage or their rent payment. So you have about 2 weeks to nominate somebody for that, but I will get into that later. And I will start with the first question, which is from Craig in Innisfil. So Craig in Innisfil, I can't speak properly, said, my girlfriend read your book about investing, and now that's all she ever talks about. I tell her we don't have 20% down, but I think she thinks we can get it with only 5% down. Could you please set the record straight? Thank you, Craig, for asking. Unfortunately for her, yes, majority of the time you have to put 20% down when it's your second property. There's the odd scenario that you can get away with 5%, but normally as an investment, not a primary residence, you do need to have 20, sometimes even 25%. They will still always look at your debt to service ratio. They will look at your credit score, and they will look how much you jump around jobs a lot. They also want to know where the money came from. If, for example, they look in your bank account and it wasn't there 2 days ago, they want to know where did it come from. So usually they want like 60 days or 90 days of account history to see that you had it in there. And if it wasn't in there, where did it come from? Was it a refinance? Was it a gift from a parent? Is it some shady money laundering? I don't know. They want to know about it. But yeah, normally they do want to have 20% down. And sometimes even if you say you're moving into it, they'll let you get away with it for 5% down. But sometimes they don't believe you. So let's just say you live in $100 million home, and you say you're going to move into this $800,000 home, and it totally might be factual, but they don't believe you because they think, why would you move from $1 million home to an $800,000 home? So they'll say, sorry, we don't believe you. You still have to put 20% down. So most likely, I'd say 98%, you are going to have to put 20% down. So unfortunately, I don't know your girlfriend's name, it might be a little bit out of reach right now, or you could go further north or to some markets that aren't as hot if you have 5% safe. But thank you for asking. So first thing before we get to real estate is, who is finding it hard to date right now? Scotty, are you finding it hard to date right now because it's COVID? Well, a cute couple just defied those odds. So they met when they were 94 and they just got married and they're now 95. So I thought it was super cute. They said that they thought that Cupid was against them with COVID and all, but they spoke every single day on the phone and eventually met up and now just got married. They were both widowed twice before, and she was previously a teacher, and he was like the president at some factory or something. And they're just from upstate New York. So I thought it was cute. They're 95. They found love during COVID. So if they found love, then anybody can find love. They also said you're never too old to say I do, which I also thought was cute. Sorry, Scotty. I didn't say. You could say, no, it's not hard. You could say it's really easy. I was just asking a question. Next question comes from Jake from Beaton. So Jake from Beaton said, do you think the market is slowing? Is this a sign? And because of the stress test, is the market going to crash? Thank you, Jake, for asking. So majority of people say that the stress test is not going to do anything to the market. And the odd one that says it is says it's such a slight blip, you're not even going to notice it. So that definitely is not going to do anything. It has slowed a bit, but it's still strong market. So let's just say before, homes were listing at $699 and selling $850. Now they're listing at $799 and selling $850. So instead of having, 20 to 35 offers, now they're having 3 to 5, but they're still getting, similar prices to before. So if you hear anywhere that things are down, it's just they might say the amount of homes sold is down compared to last month. Like March so far has been the busiest month of the entire year. So they could say, oh, the sales are down or the whatever, but the actual sales prices are not down. So just make sure you know the whole picture and the whole, numbers before you're like, oh, the market's crashing, because it's not, and it's not expected to, especially with immigration and so forth and the lack of inventory. But thank you for asking. Don't be mad, Scotty. The next thing before we get into real estate is no one ever thinks of scuba diving and being eaten by something, which actually happened to a 56-year-old, when was it, 5 days ago. He's like a lobster fisherman, and he was scuba diving, and he felt like a shove or something, and then suddenly it was all black. And not a whale, a humpback, but it is a whale, but a humpback, I was trying to think of what word that was. A humpback whale swallowed him. And I guess they normally just eat fish and small whatever. So it eventually went up to the surface and, it sounds gross, but regurgitated this man. So he lived, which was super awesome because he has a 12 and a 15-year-old, and he thought he was going to die. So it's a happy story. Very strange that he was swallowed by a whale, but happy that he lived. And that's my random story for the day. Strong, independent woman. If I could snap, I'd be like, yeah, girl, but I can't snap. Okay, next question. I know I'm weird. I don't care. Next question. Sean from Stainer. And you guys, if you want to answer or ask questions in here, you can. If not, like I said, I will answer the ones that came in throughout the week. So Sean from Stainer asked, I have just over $120,000 from a recent refinance. What my wife and I figure is that it's either a nice pool and landscaping or a cottage down payment for a $500,000 or $600,000 cottage. We're torn as our kids want a pool and don't want to spend hours in the car every weekend back and forth. Help, please. Thank you, Sean, for asking. Yeah, you're right about, obviously, if you're putting that 20% down on the $500,000 or $600,000. I personally would rather have a cottage. And even if your kids are complaining that, oh, it's, a lot of hours in the car or whatever, you could block it off, for example, for 2 weeks, and you could go, block it off work and so forth, and you could go up for 2 weeks. So it's really not a lot of time in the car because it's just on the way there and the way back. It's not like every Friday and Sunday, and you could rent it out the rest of the year. So I like that as an investor because there's other options. Whereas your pool, you're not going to be like, hey, we'll stay inside and you can rent out our backyard. You're not going to do that. So I personally like it just for, investment purposes, because let's just say your home is going up in value as is the cottage, as opposed to just your home going up in value. And right now everybody loves pools because of COVID and staycation and so forth. But if that's going to change in the future, I don't know. Maybe they won't be as popular in the future, and maybe you're going to pay a crazy amount now because obviously the prices of pools have gone up and the waiting list has gone up, and maybe in 5 or 8 years they're not as popular as they were before, and then you can get them for less. And some people are like, yeah, I like it, but not necessarily about it. So I personally like the cottage aspect, but totally up to you guys. But I personally would get a cottage and then just rent it the rest of the time you guys don't use it. But thank you for asking. And one more thing before real estate. So obviously there's lots of garbage in the world, and there's not a lot of affordable housing. So in Nigeria, which is one of the most populated spots in Africa, they have tons of water bottles, just like many places. So now they're actually making homes out of water bottles. So they're making homes, they're taking 14,000 water bottles on average, depending on the size of the home, and they're filling them with sand, and then they're using like a mesh net thing and making this, these walls that are supposedly 18 times stronger than brick, and they can withstand earthquakes and gunshots, which I don't know how they know about gunshots, that they just decided to test it on guns. But that is what they said, and it's 1/3 the cost to build a regular home because all of the bottles are free. So basically all they're doing is paying for labor, and what they're trying to do is give it to people that are out of work. So they're helping people get jobs, and also it's making it cheaper for the people to have a home. So I thought that was cool. So now we will go into real estate stuff, if you guys don't have any other questions. So we all know that basically Toronto has been out of reach for most people for a long time, But since COVID, a lot of people, even the people that could afford Toronto, so the people that bought in Toronto that are affording, are moving and saying, you know, they want more space or outdoor or what have you. And then there's some people that just couldn't afford in Toronto but live there and rented, and they're also going elsewhere, you know, they can work from home, etc. And then other people are saying, I'm just going to wait and see what happens, because they say, I don't know if my boss is going to always let me work from home, and if they don't let me work from home, and I live super far away, is that going to affect it? And then I'm going to quit or what have you. So some people are saying we're going to stay and wait in Toronto to see if our boss still lets us work from home. And other people are just saying, no, we want out of the city. So where are majority of people going? Outskirts, basically, you know, 60 to 90 minutes, up to 2 hours at the most, it's been said. So whether they're going to Barrie or Ajax or London, etc., that has been the most popular. And then where are those people going? Some are taking that extra equity. So let's just say they had only $20,000 that they had put down on their house originally, and now they have $400,000 because the home has gone up in value and they have all this extra equity. So they're putting a bigger down payment down on their next more desirable home and a more desirable location. Maybe it has a walkout basement they always wanted, or maybe it has no neighbors behind or something like that. So they're doing that. Or they're moving like east. A lot of people are moving east, and then others are moving north a lot. So there's 5 major places that people are moving north to, say for example from Barrie or whatever, just because they're like, hey, we're going to cash out, but we don't want to buy in the same market. So the main places are Sudbury, North Bay, Thunder Bay, Parry Sound, and Haliburton. So Sudbury, for example, there's been over 177.8% more homes sold in Sudbury than normal, and the average sales price is up over 53%, which is still cheap. It is just over $382,000 to buy a home in Sudbury. In North Bay, their amount of homes selling has gone up over 233.3%, which is crazy. Their average sales price is up over 56.3%, but again, still cheap. 383 and change, so very similar to Sudbury, which was 382 and change. 383,000 to buy in North Bay. Then Thunder Bay is further and hence cheaper, but still 171.4% to be exact, more homes sold last month than last year the same time, and it was a new record for them ever. And their detached homes have jumped over 78%. And their average sales price there is now $289,000. So cheap to live in Thunder Bay, $289,000. And then Haliburton, so not as far. Last month, their home sales were up over 237%. So the amount of homes sold, not the average sales price. The average sales price went up 77.4% to $510,000 in Haliburton. And then Parry Sound has over 366% more homes sold, which is crazy, 366.7 to be exact. And not counting waterfront, because waterfront's gone up even more, non-waterfront homes have gone up over 69%. And the average now in Parry Sound is $491,000 when you are not on the water. What has been the main complaint of these people that are moving to these properties up north? So the main complaint is internet access, lacking thereof, and the public transportation. So they're just saying it just, you know, I don't have a vehicle or this, that, or the other. So those are the main things: public transportation and lack of internet. I love condo living. Thank you, Scotty. I normally don't do my live here, but it's because normally it was dark earlier, so it'd be pitch black behind me and it would look funny. But now I guess it's lighter. I can do it sitting over here. But thank you. I like the view as well. So there's an investment company, and they just announced that they're going to spend $1 billion with a B billion dollars buying up properties. And some people are super excited about this, and other people are kind of pissed. And the reason that some people are excited about it is they're saying, okay, they're going to make it so the inventory is not so bad, because basically they're only going to buy homes that they can turn into 2-family homes. Okay, so it's currently a 1-family home, 1 kitchen. They're going to turn it into a 2-kitchen home. So they're saying then there'll be more inventory, so there'll be more for them to choose from, whether those people then turn around and sell it or just to rent. And then other people are saying it's already hard to buy in Toronto. Now we have to compete against billionaires. And then let's just say we don't win against the billionaires, and then we can't afford to buy anymore, and then we're renters. They're saying, well, we don't want to have billionaires as our landlords, because they obviously want to make money. And if they're buying all of these properties, which is supposed to be 4,000 properties, then they can up the rent because they have more of the market share. So let's just say the market average was 2,300 for a property, and now they up it to 3,500. So people say, I don't want to be against them as a buyer, and I don't want to have them as a landlord. So some people are very upset, and then other people are happy that they're pumping the money into the economy. They're supposed to buy in Ontario, Quebec, BC, and out east, and they've already started. And just so you know, a billion is 1,000 1 millions, in case you wonder how many zeros there are in there. So yeah, lots of people are not very happy about that. And then I'd say 20% are happy and 80% are not happy, but they're doing it anyway, so it's happening. So the average price in Canada went up 38% over last year. So the average price is now $688,000 and change in Canada to buy a home, whether that is a freehold or a condominium. And as you know, just from, or you might know from past lives of mine, there's lots of places that have gone up over 40%, 50%, etc. But that's just as an average. Last month in May, Canada as a whole went up over 38% over last year, okay? There were 56,000 homes that sold in May. I was going to say May last year. In May of this year, which is still a very high number. But for example, in March, there was over 70,000. So it doesn't mean that the market is crashing. The prices are not, you know, oh, they were 800 and now they're selling for 600. That's not happening. There's just not as many people buying. And some people say they're not as an itch to buy because they were all cooped up in the winter or what have you. And then other people say, well, they've already bought because they want to move in the summer. So they bought March, April, and then they're closing June, July so they can get settled before school starts, etc. So it depends who you ask, okay? But it's not expected to go down, just so you know. What else was I going to say? So the recent stress test, which was 2 weeks ago, again, I spoke about that. I think somebody asked a question about that. So they don't think it's really going to do much to the market at all. There's the odd person that says a tiny blip, but really nothing. And originally it was supposed to only be for people putting more than 20% down. But then last minute they changed it to everybody. So everybody has to get approved at the higher rate. So basically 2% higher than what you're going to pay. So if you're going to pay 3.9, you have to get approved at 5.9 or 5.25, whichever is the highest. If your rate's only 2, you don't try and get pre-approved at 4. You have to get pre-approved at the 5.25 with your debt to service ratio. So how much money you make. Do you make $100,000 a year and spend $95,000? Or do you make $100,000 a year and only spend $2,000? So that's your debt to service ratio. Okay, so they're going to do all of that, but you don't have to pay that higher rate. It's just for if the rate goes up, they don't want people to not pay their mortgage and go into foreclosure, etc. So the biggest places that have gained since the pandemic are, like I mentioned before, an hour to 2 from Toronto and Waterfront. So those have been the biggest across the board every single month over month in the last 15 or so months. So again, an hour or 2 around Toronto, not Toronto, and Waterfront. And what else? So in Barrie, before the pandemic, you could buy, if you were looking at 2 similar homes in the GTA as opposed to Barrie, so it would cost you 57% of the price down there in the south to buy it in Barrie, and now it's 70%. So to get the same home, now you're paying 70% in Barrie. So it's still cheaper, but has gone up as more people have been fleeing or leaving the city, okay? There are a lot of people that are still hoping that the market will soften. Those people obviously don't currently own homes. They're people that have not been able to get in the market yet. They say we want to be able to negotiate the price. We don't want to have a bidding war, and we would like to have conditions. We don't want to go in firm. We want to have a home inspector. We want to get financing. We want to see if an appraisal needs to be done, etc. But again, there's obviously both sides of the coin, because the people that already own don't want to have bought their house for $1 million and then suddenly it's worth $7 million, but the people trying to buy do want that. Not for those people to have lose money, but just so they can get in. So CREA, which is the Canadian Real Estate Association, they say that there is no price relief in sight, being that there's no prices going down, kind of going with what I was saying before. They think on average that the average home will go up in all of Canada 19.3%. Again, lots of areas have gone up over 40%, 50%, 60%, etc. But they think Canada as a whole will go up over 19% 2021 over 2020. They still think that over 683,000 homes will sell across Canada throughout 2021. And there was 7.4% less homes that sold in May in Canada. However, the prices were not down. So again, if you hear blah blah is dropping or what, yeah, there's less homes selling. However, the prices are not going down. And it's just common this time of year because most people already have their closing dates and they're, moving. I saw, for example, like 5 U-Haul trucks today, like everybody's moving, and it's a Wednesday. It's not even Friday or Saturday. So, the average price in Toronto now is 1.11 million, which is up over 28.4% over last year. And so it just keeps being stated, like with the lack of inventory and the amount of immigration, there's no way that the price can go down. And obviously with COVID and vaccines and coming out of the third wave and so forth, immigration will start to pick up again. And like many of you know, there's supposed to be over 400,000 each year for the next 3 years. So there's still multiple offers right now, but just not as many. So like I said before, February, March of this year, we were getting like 20 to 35, 40 offers. Once we even had 71 offers. Once we had 56 offers. But now we're getting the odd time 0, the odd time 1, but usually in that 2 to 5 range. If it's a cheaper price home, like let's just say 450 or 500 up to 550, then we're still seeing around 8 to 12 offers. But if it's like 700 to 900, we're usually seeing in that 2 to 5 offer range. Okay, so still multiple offers, just not 28 offers, 37 offers, 19 offers on everything. Okay. What else? I said about immigration. So in Canada right now, there's 38 million people and change. And by 2043, there's supposed to be 46.5 million. And it said by 2100, so obviously 2021 we're in. So 2100, I will not be here. But Canada is expected to have the highest amount of immigrants living in one country. So immigration will be huge here, and then our lack of inventory will also still be huge, unfortunately, unless they get that sorted quickly. What else? Ontario is not going to be the main place that the people move to. So let's just say they're coming from whatever country. It's not like they're all like Ontario, Ontario, Ontario. The main place they're actually going to go to is Alberta. So 16.6% of immigrants on average go to Alberta. Only 9.7 come to Ontario. 9.6 go to BC. 13.2 go to Saskatchewan. They beat us as well. So did Manitoba with 10.1%. And 11.4 go to Nunavut, which I was actually surprised. 10.8% of people coming to our country go to Yukon, and 9.4 go to PEI. So where will they not see a lot of, new faces and so forth? That would be Nova Scotia. Only 1.2% will go to Nova Scotia. New Brunswick will only see 0.8%, and Quebec will only see 4.9%. Newfoundland will see less than 4.5% than now, so they'll actually go in the negative. They're the only place that goes in the negative. And Northwest Territories will only see 2.9%. So sometimes I don't do this every week, but I say what's going on in Barrie, Oro, Springwater, Essa, etc. So Barrie in the last 7 days has had 61 new listings, okay? 3 deals have fallen apart, so somebody didn't get financing or didn't like the inspection, etc. 16 of those homes sold conditionally, and 61 sold firm. So there were 61 new listings, 61 sold firm, plus 16 sold conditional, which means those 16, or I'm just using that for easy number's sake, came from the week prior or 2 weeks prior or 3 weeks prior, etc., because there wasn't that many new listings. And 75 people got keys, so that's why I said more people are moving right now. So 75 people, it was their possession day, their moving day. One of the listings expired and 20 people canceled. So they might have held offers, let's just say for $799. They wanted $850 and they only got $820. They canceled and they relisted. Or maybe they listed $799, they got $900, they wanted $930, so they canceled. So 20 people canceled in Barrie in the last week. Condos, there was 9 new listings, 10 of them conditionally sold, again going into previous week's inventory. 17 went firm, so obviously 27 altogether came off the market, but there was only 9 new ones. So obviously lack of inventory in condo world. 12 people got keys in condos, and 2 canceled in Barrie in the last week. In Essa in the last week, so just west of Barrie, there was 14 new listings and 3 of them conditionally sold and 5 of them sold firm. So that one you only saw 8 out of the 14 go. So it wasn't like more went than the inventory was. So that one is obviously more balanced. 10 people got keys to their properties out in ESSA, and 2 people actually decreased their price there, and 4 people canceled in ESSA in the past week. And then in Innisfil, there was 14 new listings. 2 of the deals died. Again, they didn't get financing or they didn't get inspection that they liked. 4 conditionally sold and 17 sold firm. So in Innisfil, there was more selling than the inventory was. 20 people got keys in Innisfil, so it was their closing date. 1 person increased their price, 4 people decreased their price, and 10 people canceled and relisted in Innisfil in the past week. And in Oro, I have a kernel in my teeth. Sorry, I was eating popcorn before. In Oro, there was 12 new listings in the past week. 2 people had dead deals, so again, they didn't get financing or inspection. 3 of them went conditionally, 9 of them sold firm. So that was, again, it's not like, 12 listed and 28 sold. That one was a bit more balanced. 11 people got keys to their properties. In Oro, 1 expired and 5 canceled. And in Springwater, there were 10 new listings and 1 of the deals died. 5 went conditionally and 11 sold. So obviously 16 out of the 10 are gone. So again, going into other weeks' inventory, hence still our lack of inventory, and hence why prices are not going down. 7 people got keys, if I didn't say that already, and 4 people canceled. Okay, next question. Christina and Josh from Barrie. We moved back to Barrie after both losing our jobs spring of last year. We would love to put roots down here as we're both from here originally, but everything seems so expensive for what it is. Do you think we should wait and hope the prices come down or move somewhere more affordable? Thank you, Christina and Josh, for asking. Obviously, yeah, we do have a higher sales price, and on average, like when I do it like last week and the week before, I don't do it every single week. I switch it up a bit or whatever. Hi, Christina, how are you? So when I do it, week over week, you'll see on average, most of them have gone up 300,000. So obviously if you sit around at one, I don't think from 2021 to 2022 is going to go up 300,000, but obviously it's still going to go up because it has continuously year over year, and majority of people can't save that amount of money. So it's better just to get into the market and let the home save for you. So let's just say you want a detached, you might have to get a semi-detached or a town or a link or something, or maybe you can go into the outskirts and you could go to ESSA, or you could go to Springwater where the taxes are cheaper and you could get bigger property and so forth, or maybe you go to Midland or Penetanguishene where there's not as many bidding wars, and the average sales price tends to be about 300. Hi, Christina. 300,000, less on average. So a home that's 750 in Barrie is 450 up there, for example. So you might have to do that. For example, the average sales price in Barrie, teeters lately between 750 and 8. Last year it teetered between 5 and 525. So, and that's not for a detached, that's just in general. But for example, in London, it's like 520 to 523. So maybe you want to move to London, it's cheaper there. I don't know what it goes up year over year there. So I don't know if your money makes more sense here or there. You'd have to do more research, in other places. But, or maybe you get into a condo for now or something, or you get into somewhere that you could rent out the basement. So yes, your payment's higher than you were hoping, but you can rent out the basement, or you could rent out some rooms or something, just depending on how much you really want to have roots here, or if you are more apt to, like I mentioned earlier, there's places like Sudbury that were, I forget, 385,000 or 383,000, or Thunder Bay. Obviously you can go places a lot cheaper, but maybe you can't get work there, and maybe their prices don't go up. Maybe, for example, I know somebody that bought a home for 380,000, and like 10 years later they sold it for 392. I personally wouldn't want that kind of return on my investment. So you just need to do a bit more research. But if you want to put down roots, that's what I would suggest for here. And thank you for asking. So what is next? This is pet. So I've done all the real estate, Christina. You missed the real estate. But so who has a pet? You are probably healthier. So Christina, I don't know if you've ever been on these, for example, but I do happy news, I do question and answer, and then I do real estate, and the real estate smack dab in the middle. So we just did that. But for a pet, it turns out if you have a pet, you are more likely to be healthy yourself. 67% of people in a recent poll in North America said that they take better care of their pet than they do themselves. which is kind of crazy. But 8 out of 10 people with a pet say they have better self-care when they have a pet than when they do not have a pet. And 72% of people said that their pet gives them less depression and less stress, and they feel less anxious when they have a pet. 62% said they exercise more. I definitely did. When I had a dog, I walked around the block every morning and every night, and I do not do that anymore. So I would agree with that. 44% said they were more cautious of what they eat. I guess maybe if they're just giving their dog or cat scraps, I'm not sure. I didn't eat any differently. 61% of people with pets said they would skip on a date night or on a trip if they couldn't bring their pet with them. And 65% said they're closer to their pet than an immediate family member, which I kind of thought was funny, but might be sad at the same time. But you gotta love your pets. 76% said they agree that dog is man's best friend. And 48% said they let their pet sleep on the bed. And 83% said their pet helped them through a rough time. So next question is from Stacy from Barrie. So Stacy from Barrie says, I understand that you have always invested by yourself. I have 2 coworkers who want to split a cottage 3 ways. What do you think about that? Thank you, Stacy, for asking. I personally, you're right, have always invested by myself, except for once I bought with a boyfriend a very, very long time ago. It lasted about a month and cost me a lot of money. But I personally am not a fan of it because I feel like, let's just say you buy a cottage and you want to Airbnb it, and then the other person used to be on board for that, but now they don't want to do it because they think it's going to get wrecked. Or you want to put a new roof and they say, no, we still have 3 more years on the roof. Or you want to use it for your family for all of July and they say that's not fair because that's the best month. Or you want to cut the grass yourself to save money and they say, no, let's just hire somebody. I find it really hard and people fight and bicker a lot, and oftentimes they're not friends, or let's just say they're siblings. They tend to not talk at the end. So I personally don't like it. But if you do it, make sure that you make sure that you get everything settled in your will. So if there's 2 people or even 3, so say you said it 3, for example, in yours. So say there's 3 people and 1 person passes away. Does theirs automatically go to the other 2 people, or does it go to the person in their will, or multiple people in their will? So just make sure everything is really set out in stone of what's going to happen and who's paying for what and who's getting what time and so forth, just because it can get quite complicated. So I personally am not the biggest fan of it, but if that is the only way you can get into the market, and let's just say you buy a cottage for $600, and in 4 years it's worth $900 or what have you, obviously you're getting a third of that money as opposed to getting a third of no money if you can't buy anything right now. So obviously there's perks to it as well. And then obviously having a cottage to go to is fun, but that would be my answer for that. Next thing is, there was a 27-year-old lady. She went to the beach with her 2-year-old and 6-year-old, and this was yesterday in Michigan. And there was nobody else on the beach, but she saw some teenagers. And eventually they were like flailing their arms around a lot and so forth. And she realized that they needed help. So she told her 6-year-old to keep her 2-year-old on the beach because it wasn't safe. And she like ran down this cement pier and she laid on her stomach, and she's 5 months pregnant. And basically, long story short, got all the girls out, but it took a long time. And she didn't always think they were going to make it, and neither did they. So anyways, they all got out. She wasn't going to go to the beach that day because of the weather and the wind and so forth, but she did, and now she thinks it's fate. And so now the 3 girls are saved, so I like happy endings. The next question comes from Gail in Hawkstone. Gail in Hawkstone says, or asks, I should say, I was nominated in February for the giveaway and didn't win, which is fine, but I was wondering if this disqualifies me from nominating somebody for next month. Thank you, Gail, for writing in. And no, it does not disqualify you. You are welcome. Even if you did win, you could still nominate somebody. It totally doesn't matter, as long as the person lives in Simcoe County. So they have to be over the age of 18 and they have to live in Simcoe County. You do not have to live in Simcoe County, and you do not have to be over the age of 18. But last month, for example, we had people nominating people in Sudbury and Thunder Bay and Toronto and Niagara Falls and whatever. The winner has to live in Simcoe County, okay? And again, has to be over the age of 18. That's only the qualifications. Doesn't matter if you won before, you were nominated before, or last year we did these prizes every single Friday. It was $50 or whatever, these contests, Cabin Fever Fun, or I forget what it was called. Doesn't matter if you've won those, as long as the person lives in Simcoe County. So you could say, hey, I want to nominate my neighbor, I want to nominate the lady at the bank, I want to nominate the fellow at the bakery, I want to nominate my hairstylist, I want to nominate whoever you want, and we will never tell their personal information. You could just send a video like this or a written submission to info@crippshomes.com. Again, info@crippshomes.com. And on the first of the month, on this exact Facebook, I will go live and surprise somebody with $2,500 check, and they can put it towards their rent or their mortgage or what have you, okay? But thank you for asking. Next thing is, obviously, it's been warmer, so a lot of people have their AC on, but they don't necessarily like the bill. So there is a fellow, he is a professor at a university in Boston, and he came up with some cooling paper, and it's like made from paper that he's ground up or something, and made from a substance that's in Teflon and pots. And he made this paper, and it goes on roofs and roofs. And anyways, it can cool it with up to 6 degrees cooler. And so obviously then you don't have to have your AC on as much, and is also recyclable and recyclable. And that was kind of it. Saves money, and it's better for the environment. So anyways, if you missed the real estate stuff, you can go back and watch. Even though it's live, you can see it again. I hope you guys have a safe week. You enjoy your patios, you enjoy your drive-in, shopping, whatever you're doing. Don't forget to nominate somebody for the $2,500. Be kind to everyone and have a great evening. Take care.